We're here tonight, sitting in Peter Bryan's kitchen in Lightning Look, Buffer's Alley. Tonight, Peter, we want you to tell us your life story. We'll start back at your school days, when you attended school in Monamolin. So I'll leave it up to you now, Peter.
Well, I was born in 1904, 27th of September. We were reared in a little place about 1.5 miles from the road, through char roads and bogs and bordings. 8 acres of land was what my father and mother had that time. And there was 9 of us. And I often think of us now and again. My father worked in a farmer's place about 1 mile away. I suppose I think about 6 shillings a week. I often wondered how in the name of God they reared 8 or 9 of us. But they did. But the farm at that time, this particular farm, there were 6 or 7 men working here and 2 or 3 women. And I often tell the truth, I often saw my father some nights they say they'd have a big table full of spuds at the dinner that time and plenty of meat and cabbage. The women, there'd be leftovers. My father often come home with a plastic full of these at night.
Leftovers?
Yes, and God, we did lay into it. But then, the churn that time, and there was no separating or no nothing. And if you got a mug of buttermilk that time, and a cut of wet and bread and butter, you'd have a feed. That was beautiful. And I tell you what they used to do that time, they hardly believe you now. The farmers had had the sheep that time. My father had 3 or 4 ewes, and when they weighed the lambs that time, they'd milk the sheep about twice a week. And God, there was what they called then the yellow mare and the sheep's fat.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, it was lovely, that's about it. There's no one to believe how nice it was now. But now they don't want to milk the sheep at all. But they did do it that time. Well, now it come on along, time to go to school. And the school, we used to go across the fields that time, down to Buried Land, the old school, that time, the new school here now.
There was a mass pat or something there.
Well, there was mass pats everywhere that time.
Yeah.
There was a mass pat all along the brow there, out at the brow gate. And there was a mass pat up along the other fields to Buried Land Lane, coming from Mount Howard. And I remember 40 and 50 that time comes from Mount Howard and all along to the commons there to mass. And there's not, well, of course, there's no styles, no nothing wanting now. You know, there was no style here and there every day.
Yeah, I know, Peter, yeah.
They're there still, some of the styles. But that was done away with now, but that's what happened that time, anyway. And
Well, going to school now, you went across the fields that time.
Oh God, yes. In your bare feet. Well, you'd love to be in, if you had a pair of boots in the summer, you'd take them off and ride them in the butchers.
Yeah.
In the bare feet now, that's, yes. The James Brady and his wife was the teachers that time. The 2 of them. And
Well, it was only a 2-teacher school.
2, that's all.
2-teacher school.
2 teachers.
Yeah.
There was about, I say about 60 or 70 on the
road.
On the road.
Yeah.
But anyhow, he was, oh God, he was cross. Got a damn good baiting, man. But
I wasn't lost on you.
well, no, but I think they're wrong now. They're doing away with all that. God, I think it's wrong. Because they're gone unruly now and all to get them. They can't be managed nowhere. But that time, the holy, you get
The cane.
across the bloody thumbs and all. That's all.
Yeah.
Maybe that's on the head. But anyhow, he had a farm, you see. And in the spring now, he'd have the corn sowed in. God sure he'd be asking us, and we'd be delighted to help him pick stones or something for a day.
For the teacher.
Yes. be delighted to you.
Yeah.
We get a group and pick the stones and that. Because it fell out with the clergyman, they got the man that went high. The parents, some of the parents was giving them out high though. But that time, God, I often been very sorry. There's a son of his below Dinbred in house there, below in Chahor. That's a son's there. The hockey man, there was no teachers union that time. They wouldn't have to do it now. But sacked the man without any pension or anything else.
The second
He had,
Master
yeah,
Brady.
he had to go, yes.
Yeah. Well, would he have any connection now with Brady's turn now?
Oh,
Do you know Brady's turn now?
well, that only come in to Brady's. That was always Laffin's turn in my young days, and now it's Laffin's is there again.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Brady's bought that farm from Laffin's,
Yeah.
and then they changed it to Brady's turn. But it's back to Laffin's turn now, Peter Laffin.
Well, who was the clergyman that was in Monamolin at that time?
Father Moore.
Father Moran.
Yes, yes.
Well, what kind of a man was he?
Oh God, he was, I tell you, he was a grand man. He was out of in the 1914 war, and he was full of asthma and all.
Yeah.
Like the sup and all, you know, but he had his own tent outside of that. He used to sleep out in the tent in the summer.
Outside
Yes.
the house?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have the photograph of that.
Aye.
Actually, he resigned after a while.
Yeah.
You know, I lived above in Kilcarberry. You know,
Just outside of Inniscarty?
Yeah, where,
Davis's Mills?
yes,
Yeah,
it was
just-
sold there, the cans got.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But anyhow, that's that. Well now, I left school, you had to leave school that, well, you hadn't to go, but 13 or 14 years of age. And you were glad then to get hanged. You know,
Yeah.
they got a man, so they got me into Ryan Duff hanging with John Coney, served me time, bar and grocery.
Oh, you went to serve your time in Rahindale?
Yes.
Yeah.
Put up almost 3 years there.
Yeah.
But there was no money that time, only a pound of Christmas Eve. And you worked there from 8 o'clock in the morning till 11 or more at night. But you always had the term though with the boys.
With
Oh,
the-
God. Grace terms of all time, the Grace Yard.
Well, can you remember any of those
Oh,
yards?
I got it. Lord, do you know what? I remember there was an old fellow around here too. That time they used to go to Castle Bridge with the horses and sacks of corn, you know.
Yeah.
And they'd leave early in the morning. Some would have 2 horses, more of one, and they'd have 5 sacks of barley. That was a load for such a horse. Maybe another horse, a 4 they do. But they go anyhow, and they'd treat in every public house coming back now.
Yeah.
But this man was coming this evening, and it was getting near dark, and he was coming past, after getting a few jars in Castle Bridge, and he was coming at this side of it. And the moon was hitting his shine, and he had overtook an old lady. Be man, he says to himself, I think I just up this old lady, you know.
Yeah.
So she got up with him. But now they come on, and wasn't there a lad after coming out of the pub in Castle Bridge about half a mile out, and wasn't he as drunk as a lard, and didn't he get the diarrhea?
Oh, jeez.
And God, if he didn't forget himself, and what years he put his head up the ditch, and the arse out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they were coming by. This woman. And when they come by, she God bless themselves. Who was that? Me man, I don't know. Says he, well, his face is familiar. Oh God.
Well, there must have been some crack, I would say, with the like of that type of thing, with the horses and cars.
Ah, Jerry. God, there was some crack with them our lads every night in the week. And,
Yeah.
God, do you know that? And they tell lies for the bash.
Tell lies.
Oh, Jesus, that about the Banshee and Willie the Wisp.
Yeah.
God, that had you Freddy your life, do you know, at night?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of them was the Banshee. She was supposed to follow families, you know.
Yeah.
Remember one night they'd say such a one was sick and this one would come on and sit on the window stool. She'd be
combing
her hair and this mournful sound. All like this. That person wouldn't live no one that day.
Yeah.
No. And tell you what was the right thing that time. You'd nearly be dying for someone to die. There was 2 nights that away.
Yeah.
And you stopped there all night. And you wouldn't be praying. And you'd get the tea and everything. Well, there'd be the greatest stories of that time told. But I remember as a way near us, and the old lad, real straight old man, only crooked, do you know that way?
Yeah.
Contradiction.
Yeah.
He'd one arm. We were on the table, the Buffers Alley lad was on the table, and the fanners was here, and he was at the fanners. And these friends of his come in, it was about 12 o'clock at night. And you know the way they used to shake hands and sorry for your trouble.
Yeah.
This old man come over. Oh, just the sound. I'm sorry for your trouble. Was she bad? If she wasn't bad, she wouldn't have died. Oh God, you'd never be tired, you'd never be safe, you know.
Well, would there be many who'd go to the wakes?
Oh,
So
geez,
the whole country, I suppose.
Oh, the house would be packed.
Yeah. An all right job.
Well, almost.
Yeah.
Yes, almost.
Yeah.
Well,
Peter, going back to Racking Duff now, to your workplace.
yeah.
Like you say, you were working for nothing actually.
Yes. Yeah.
And what did your work
Well,
consist of?
well, you got up at 8 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
and you swept out the shop, you cleaned up the bar, and you put up the bottles on the shelves. If they
Pack
were-
the shelves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all that. Well, then you wanted breakfast. Well, you come down then, sure, if there was customers, you know, you had to serve them, and maybe sometimes 3 or 4 old lads would come in,
Yeah.
and you'd have to stay there, serving them and listening to them, and then the grocery part and the bar was all together that time.
Yeah, and then there wasn't there a lot of weighing up and things
Oh,
like
sure,
that. You know, you had to weigh everything at that time.
Flour, everything,
Yeah.
and the sugar,
Yeah.
and tea you had to weigh at that time. There was nothing, no bags that time at all. There
All
was-
came in
Yes,
chests
yes, the very
and
thing.
sacks.
Yes, yes, everything. And you had to, and the lamp oil then, there was a big keg with that, and you had to pump this, the one that half a gallon bottles on that way.
Yeah, but all the lights at that time was paraffin oil, weren't they?
Oh yes, yeah, candles.
Candles and
Oh yes,
lanterns. And
oh
things.
yes,
Yeah.
oh God yes, the old table lamps and the lamp on the wall.
Yeah.
There was a lamp on the wall there.
Yeah. Well, can you remember then, like, what the price it would say a drink was now? What was a bottle of stout?
6 old pence. That tells me it was cheaper, but that's what it was there at that time. 6 old pence.
For a bottle of stout?
Yes.
And what would the half one be?
The half one, oh God, you got it, if I get but sure of, you partly guess yourself what I'm being. You would take the stout at 6 pence a bottle. I suppose it'd be 5 or 6 pence for a half one,
Yeah.
or that.
But sure, it was like everything else, the people just, they hadn't the money either.
Oh God, no, they hadn't. 2 or 3 bottles of stout at night at that time.
Yeah.
And the sing for the bars.
I know, yeah.
But it was stronger that time. It's gone down now so much on the profile.
Yeah.
It was a lot stronger that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there was some of them only got a couple of bottles Christmas Eve night now. That's,
And that'll be that for another year.
well, that's a good story.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did you enjoy
Oh, God, yes.
working behind the
Oh,
phone?
yes. Well, I did. I got fed up with it, but you did enjoy it at night, you know, with the boys, with the
yarns.
sayings, and sometimes there'd be a fight, do you?
Yeah,
Oh,
a fight.
Oh, that would.
Yeah,
Oh, the big ones. And they'd be after meeting one another every day for months and months.
yeah,
And they wouldn't say a word till they get the few buttons. And then they'd wrap up. You never heard such a rigmarole in your life, and that was the wrap up. That's not.
but then it'd be over
Oh,
and
yes.
done.
Yes.
Yeah,
On a Christmas Eve. But it happens all right, fights Christmas Eve. That's a fact.
yeah,
Yes, and the black and blue the next day. That's a fact.
I know.
That's a fact. Yeah.
Well then, after Racking Duff, where did you go then?
Well, before we leave Rhinedown, I remember in 19... And do you remember the time the Thames?
I heard of him.
Well, the RIC was in the Bryson Owl at that time. Well, there'd be loads of Thames that come. The Black and Thames that time.
Yeah,
I think it was around 1920 now. Or,
along that at that time
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah,
well, the tallest of them wasn't that size. With little old tin hats on
yeah,
and rifles. And a little, you know, the what's the name of the lorries that time? They were sized, they had a special name on the lorries. There'd be a row that side and a row at this side with rifles, but there was no cover overs.
yeah,
They'd drive around and they'd fire shots from the back. If you were in the way, they got it. They didn't care either.
just fire at you.
They fired at lots of them, but they come to Ryan Duff this summer's eve, and you know, there was an old ball alley down there where the sheds is now.
Yeah,
That time. And the boys used to be tired and they'd all lying around the ditch there on the corner still. And they were all there that evening. I remember Pat Megan and Bob now was alive still. But these lads, on the 11 days of wild bush, there was the boys had sunk an old trench in Ballincatch the night before, in the road, you know.
yeah,
Oh God, they know what it is. Well, we were looking out through the window, but you think I mean, it was up to that now to Pat Ivory, Pat Megan there. And he drunk. Now, we were expecting every minute that I go up, but they didn't. They went away after a while, firing shots up in there and everything. And they were cussing crowd, that's all.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well, after you leave in Racking Duff then,
after I leave Ryan,
yeah,
I come home.
to the Commons.
Yes.
Yeah,
And they got a man, I went to Pat Cousins to pick spoons that time.
yeah,
They're getting out the spoons now. And they got a man I stayed there for a long time. In fact, now I tell you, I used to go and come back, but I was nearly rare then. I couldn't. Well, Seamus and that, I nearly nursed all them, Seamus and all them.
yeah.
Yes, that's a fact. Good old days, they were.
Well, what was pay like now in
Oh, about $5 a week,
yeah,
that's what it was.
yeah,
Yeah, $5. If you had half a crown that time, you'd be up in no one.
Well, what age were you now at this time?
Oh, well, what would that be? 23 or 4 years of age, anyhow, at that time.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, then, worked there, you know what happened then. We started, the hurling went on, you know, all started at that time and dancing in the houses. You go to, there'll be a dance nearly every night in the week somewhere,
yeah,
and you go there. hurling Doran's field that time, no matter what happened.
Every night.
If weight was 100 pound a bottle, there was a field at Doran's for hurling.
Yeah.
They never tilled. There was always a field left. And only for that there'd be no taming boards.
I know.
No.
But even though, at that time, like, what kind of teams had you?
Teams?
Yeah.
Well, they say we had only the second division junior that time. There was junior and second division junior and senior.
Yeah.
But the second division junior, they won it out that time in 1928. And then you went intermediate. And then you went senior. The 1928 team now, they're all dead, I myself.
Only yourself?
Only. Wow.
You're the only survivor?
That's right.
That's good.
That's thrown
That's
out.
good.
Yes.
Well, you spent like was the hurling field in
Oh yes. Oh God, yes.
Sunday and Monday, as the fella says.
Oh, no matter how tired you are, you'd be there. Well, you'd hurl for an hour some night anyhow.
Yeah.
And it was Sunday, if you went to first mass, you'd be hurling. And you went back and you hurled in the evening if you weren't going out for it.
I know, yeah.
And you'd,
But these dances now that you were saying about,
oh, well, the dance was much funny.
what, they were house dances?
All house dances and maybe on the clay floor now.
Yeah.
The most of them was clay floors that time. I'll be the holy man. And a lot of them had nail boards now. And there would be a dust there. And the Malorgia. There was nothing else on the Malorgia at that time. Oh, God, it's right, yes.
And what time would they start at now?
They'll start now about, well, in the winter now, could start at 7:30. In the summer, they could start at 9:30 or anything, but they all went on till daylight.
The whole night through?
Oh, God, they did. Oh, yes. And that time the old half set, not a bit like now, you know, this half set they get up now and they finish their job. Then the next half set they get up. Well, now they'll finish up. Not a bit like they used to do now. You know, they'll finish up then around and they know in and out, you'll go in and I go out and you know the old play.
Yeah.
Around the house, mind the
dresser. Yeah.
Yes, they go that way. Oh God. And the big nail. And the next day, it was a clay floor. You see the marks of the nails.
In the floor?
In the floor. Yes.
Yeah. Well, what would it be like? To be in every house, kind of a different night or something in every house.
Especially the thrashing season now.
Yeah.
Nearly every your thrash today, there'll be a dance at your house. I seen that a week's thrashing around here and a week's dancing.
Every night?
Every night, and you'd say to yourself when you go to the session, I go home now tonight and I'm getting to bed. You would. You go home, wash and back to dance. I've got
till all hours the next morning?
All hours the next morning.
And then go for a thrash and then?
Go for the thrashing again and work hard.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bit of bother because everybody was working. Not a bit of bother.
Was you getting a woman then in these thrash and dances?
Oh.
What would be your chances there?
Oh. Well, dancing at the night now. You see, you'd get in with a lady. Well, they could be gone for a walk for an hour, do you see, and come back again. That was the way. You see, you got her out for the walk.
Yeah.
But I remember one. God, I remember one. There was a grand young fella who was down from Dublin, and this was a fine girl too. She was after putting a lot through her hands. At the hawking man, she was trying to get in with this fella. And we got she did. Come come on, of course, as usual, to go home. Well, home, they were down a little OBrien, and there was a little hill in the road then, and they sat down at the foot of the hill. Oh, he made no move at all. Never made move. See, after a while he put his hand here. She thought it was right. No. She, are you not going down any further? Are you not going up any further? Oh God, see how we take up to the top of the hill. Got up the horse at the top of the hill. Then down again. No. No, I did the hooking, man. No. No, no. I started feeling my leg. Started in no go. That's are you not going down? Down again.
Yeah.
Like the hooking man down the horse. And she got mad. By the hooking man. She got so mad, she started. I emptied out the whole job. No go. What sort of a man are you? Why? Are you not going to put it in? God, I'm sure I'm not going to walk in and tell me that, are you?
Oh, mine are good.
Oh, God, she was raging myself.
Yeah.
When you turn it off for a while, really.
Peter, take us back now to the thrashings.
Yes.
What went on now, we'll say, the thrashings at that time?
Well, of course, what went on now? Some of them had a very big day's thrashing around.
Yeah.
4 rigs now. Some of them had 4 rigs. Well, the man that owned the thrashers set up there that night in the first 2.